So, far side, please. And just drag chairs wherever you need to drag chairs.
Where would you like me?
On the far side, please.
All right. I am Detective Greenberg from the Vallejo Police Department.
Well, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to start my recording.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Detective Greenberg from the Vallejo Police Department.
Scott Yates, Detective, Vallejo Police Department, badge 509.
Go ahead.
Jarrett Tonn, the Vallejo Police Department.
And Dagny Holstead.
Okay. So, my understanding is you wanted to make a statement about what happened tonight?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you start off, tell me your full name and your badge number?
Jarrett Tonn, and badge number 673.
And how long have you worked for the Vallejo Police Department?
Since August of 2014.
And where did you work before that?
The Galt Police Department.
How long did you work there for?
7 years.
Okay. What was your assignment tonight?
I was working uniform patrol on day shift as 5 Paul 5 in beat 5.
Okay, so can you explain what 5 Paul 5 means to me?
Yes. I was weekend day shift, which is squad 5. That's the designation for that shift. I was a Paul unit, which is a solo patrol unit, and a marked patrol unit. And I was assigned to cover beat 5 of the city of Vallejo.
Okay. How long have you worked this beat?
I just went back to patrol on temporary status, and I've been doing beat 5 the entire time, and today's my 3rd or 4th day back on patrol.
Okay, what's the hours scheduled for the shift?
It's 7 in the morning to 7:30 at night.
Okay, and who's the supervisor at the time of this incident?
Sergeant Postalaki.
Okay. Did you receive any injuries or anything during any of this?
I did not.
Okay. Is this the uniform you were wearing at the time?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you just go over your uniform with me, what you carry on your belt?
Yes. The only thing that I did not have on was this lapel mic. I had a different one, that mic that broke, so I replaced it. I have a .45 caliber Glock on my right side because I'm right-handed. Glock 21 carries 13 rounds in the magazine plus 1 round that I had in the chamber. I carry 2 sets of handcuffs on my back. I carry a small can of pepper spray in the front, several sets of keys, 2 additional Glock 45 magazines, which each carry 13 rounds. I have a portable radio, a baton ring, and a taser.
Okay, did anything, you said the lapel mic broke with that?
Yeah, I had a little, I think it was already kind of damaged, and I think that did it in, the foot pursuit.
Okay. What car were you driving tonight?
Driving unit 175.
Okay. Is this your normal car, or do you?
It is my normal car.
Okay. And you said you carry a Glock 45 caliber?
Correct.
Is that a department weapon?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and is it department ammunition?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you said your gun was loaded with how many rounds?
I had 13 rounds in the magazine. There was 1 round in the chamber.
Okay. Do you carry any other firearms on you?
I do not.
Okay. Okay. Why don't you just go ahead and tell me what happened?
I was working patrol today when I received an email from Sean Kinney, who is assigned to the United States Marshals Task Force as a task force officer. The email was a bulletin for a armed with a handgun carjacking that occurred in Napa County today. The email contained numerous details about 2 subjects. Both subjects were known felons. One of the subjects was on CDC parole for, I believe, weapons charges. The other subject was recently released from prison. He had been sent to prison for assault with a deadly weapon. Both subjects were validated, or stated to be validated, Serrano gang members. The details about the carjacking included the fact that the suspects were armed with a handgun, that they put the handgun to the victim's head, and then also struck the victim with the handgun, causing him to go unconscious. I'm going to just keep narrating.
Yeah, go ahead.
I received that email. I later received information that Napa Sheriff or Napa Police, I think it was a task force, so maybe it was both, were pinging a phone taken from the victim during the carjacking. During that first ping that I was made aware of, the phone was pinging in the area of Benicia Road and Columbus Parkway. A short time later, I'm going to guess maybe 20-30 minutes, I was made aware that the phone was pinging at Alabama and Marin Street with a 7-meter accuracy. I should also state that the email stated that the vehicle taken during the carjacking was a 2008 green Toyota Camry, and there was a license plate provided, which I don't recall off the top of my head. I was in the area of roughly Sonoma and Benicia Road-ish when I was made aware of the ping at Alabama and Marin. I drove over to that area in an attempt to possibly locate the carjacked vehicle and conduct surveillance on it. I drove northbound on Marin and approached Alabama Street. I could see the Toyota Camry parked. It was parked on the southwest corner of the intersection of Alabama and Marin, actually on the Alabama side, on the south side of Alabama. I immediately recognized this car as the 2008 green Toyota Camry in question. I initially started to drive past the vehicle in order to begin surveillance. I didn't want to get too close to it. I noticed that there was another patrol vehicle parked or almost next to the suspect vehicle. It was on Alabama facing east, pretty much parallel with the suspect vehicle. Not knowing if they recognized that as the vehicle or really what was going on, I felt that since I recognized it as the vehicle and they were there and potentially in harm's way, I should, go over and assist them. I wasn't really sure what that car was doing, or if they had recognized the car, or if they saw somebody, or what was going on. But since they, were parked right next to it, I figured I'd help out. And that, surveillance was pointless at that point because they obviously saw the police. So I turned westbound on Alabama. At this time, I rolled down my window, and pretty much simultaneously with Officer Carpenter pointing towards City Park and telling me someone ran from the car or from the direction of the car, I saw a Hispanic male who appeared to be one of the subjects in the bulletin in that same email, wearing a white t-shirt and black pants, start running southwest, kind of jogging through the park, through City Park. Officer Carpenter made some, I don't remember his exact wording, but he made some sort of reference to that's the guy, or that guy ran from the car. I didn't want to lose sight of him, so I drove around to the south side of City Park in order to somewhat set up a perimeter so we could try to search the park or call in more units. Danelle Jones had started to make some radio transmission that she was there. I think she broadcast maybe a partial of the intersection, if I remember correctly. Maybe I think she said Alabama and Sonoma maybe. And I got out of my car and I did not see the subject not see the male in the white shirt. I broadcast on the radio, "Hey, where is he at? I don't see him," or something to that effect. I think I said, "Where's he at?" And I did not get a reply, and I did not hear any further radio transmissions from that other vehicle, either Officer Carpenter or Officer Jones. Right as this is happening, I noticed several women in the park. I think they had like strollers. I saw them playing with kids. Start just kind of looking towards the playground structure, which kind of drew my attention that way. I was able to see through the slatted fence of the playground structure the same male wearing the white shirt, and it's a dark fence, so I could kind of see the contrasting colors, and I could see that was the subject. He kind of was semi-crouched, appeared to be kind of hiding, and at that point I didn't think that he saw me. I knew that he had already tried to run from us on the other side of the park, so I wanted to get close to him. I didn't want to give him a big distance, big gap. So I felt that the best thing to do was just start running towards him and hopefully get somewhat closer to him before he sees me. I started sprinting towards him, maybe a second or two, and he did see me, and he started fleeing in a west direction towards Sacramento Street. I still had not heard any transmission from the other unit. I wasn't sure if they had encountered someone else or really what was going on. So I decided to get on the radio myself. I didn't know if they were, I guess I should say, I didn't know if they were seeing me chase this guy on foot, if they had seen that, or if they had encountered something else. So I decided to put it out, the foot pursuit out for myself. I put out code 33 on the radio. I said foot pursuit at City Park. And I immediately broadcast that this was an armed carjacking suspect and that we were going westbound towards Sacramento Street. I ran west towards Sacramento. I was on the south side of the playground structure. I couldn't really see exactly what path the suspect took, but he came out pretty much at Packard Alley or Packard Alley would continue if it hit all the way to the east side of Sacramento, if that makes sense, that curb line, I guess, of Packard Alley. So he came out pretty squared off with Packard Alley at the playground there, if that makes sense.
So he's running
somewhat through. I couldn't see if he went around the structure or what way through because it's an obstacle course type thing, so I don't know what he went under, but he came out pretty even with Packard Alley.
Okay, that makes sense.
I ended up coming in behind him right as he's about to cross over the street. I set myself a little bit to his right, and now I'm behind him. We start going over Sacramento, and either right before we hit Packard Alley or right within a couple feet of there, I could see he had what appeared at the time to be a gun in his right hand. I actually did a double take. It was one of those things where I went, was that really a gun? Like, am I really seeing a gun? I've been in a lot of foot pursuits. Most people don't carry guns in their hands. That's kind of the exception, not the rule of people. Even the people that have guns on them, they're not running with guns in their hand. So it in my head, it kind of took me back for a second. I did the double take. Is that really what I'm seeing? And I confirmed that, yeah, this is a gun. I'm looking at a gun here. I would say I was within 10 yards of him. I was fairly close to him at that point. I broadcast on the radio that the subject had a gun. I think I said he has a gun, which again is unusual for me. I've been in dozens of foot pursuits with people with guns, and a lot of times in those situations, I'll say that they're reaching for their waistband or that they might seem like they have a gun, but I don't come out and say they have a gun. For me to say someone has a gun, it means they have a gun. It means I saw a gun. And again, that's not something I normally encounter. I can probably count the number of times on my hand that I've seen someone run with a gun in their hand. I immediately yelled to the subject that I was going to shoot him. I said that several times. I'm going to shoot, something to that effect. The subject continued to run west through Packard Alley. The subject then did something which was also not normal at the time, which was he shoved the gun back in his waistband. Again, I've thought about this before. I've seen numerous training videos. I've thought about what to do with guys running with guns. In my head, when he put it back in his waistband, I was already concerned that he had it in his hand. That was as concerned as I could be that he was going to try to use it to try to shoot me. But when he put it back in, didn't really relieve any of my fears, because he still had a gun and he didn't try to get rid of it. Most people with guns, even the ones that have them in their hands for a second, again, most people will throw it as soon as possible, because it's just been my experience that even if they get caught, they just don't want to get caught with the gun, and they think even if you saw them throw it, it's better than getting caught with them on it, or whatever their logic usually is. So I was really concerned, that he put it back in. To me, it meant that he did not want to get rid of it, and that he wanted to keep it. And to me, guns are used for one thing, and that's to shoot somebody. And so in my mind, I'm already thinking he's keeping this because he's going to try to shoot me or somebody else. And he doesn't want to get rid of it. This is not someone who's running with a gun to try to get rid of it, or any sort of compliance. I mean, zero compliance. And not only that, not getting rid of a weapon, not throwing it over a yard. We passed numerous fences. I've had people throw guns over fences before. He didn't do that. He basically, what I call reholstered. He put it back in his waistband, on kind of in the center, offset to the right a little bit. As he continued to run, maybe we're almost at the end of Packard Alley at Santa Clara Street. He kept his hand close to the gun, and I remember broadcasting. He's kind of, I think I said, reaching for his waistband, and maybe that, and I don't know, people that were listening at the time, would picture that he had reholstered it or thought that he reholstered it, but that's why I said that. And then right before we get to Santa Clara Street, he starts actively trying to get that gun out, and I see jerky motion. I see his elbow moving, and again, when his hand is by his waist, it's not even I'm trying to hold my pants up run, which I've seen before. That's an awkward, slow, weird run. This is I'm trying to have a weapon on me, and I'm trying to retain this weapon, and then when we get closer to Santa Clara, I'm trying to get this weapon out. To me, it looked like the gun probably got caught up on some clothing. He made the turn to go northbound on Santa Clara from Packard Alley. I slowed down. I wanted to pie that corner, take a little bit more tactical approach. I didn't know if he would try to double back or ambush me. Again, I've seen that in training videos. We've heard about it, so I slowed down. He gained some distance. I could see him over some of the yards that he had, continued to run down north on Santa Clara. And he's still actively almost struggling to get this thing out. And again, to me, it would seem consistent with someone trying to get a gun out and it's caught on an article of clothing. I would say, to me, this is as concerned as I can get without somebody actually pointing a gun or shooting at me. He's trying to get a gun out. And he already had every opportunity to discard this weapon. He already had every opportunity to get rid of it. And now he's trying to get it out of his waistband. And, I have this guy that's got a long criminal history, been to prison, 245, didn't ditch his gun, and he's trying to get it out now. I'm as high on my alert or, scared that I'm going to get shot as I could be just shy of someone actually shooting at me, basically. I think he's going to get this gun for one reason, which is to shoot at me. The other fear that I had was, as he got closer to Alabama, I'm still thinking that Officer Jones and Officer Carpenter are possibly coming up Alabama. That's where I had last seen him. That would be the most direct route to where I was going. And if he accesses this gun and gets it out of his waistband and they come around the corner and they meet, that he would try to shoot them and kill them. And so I could not let him get this gun out of his waistband. That was my biggest fear. I can't let that happen. And I guess you could say I almost feel like compelled, like I have to take action to prevent this harm from coming to myself, me getting killed, or my partners getting killed. I have to do something, almost to the point where, like, if I don't do something and something happens, that'd be the worst thing in the world. And so, knowing that there's this deadly threat, knowing that this guy has not ditched his gun, he's trying to now pull it out of his waistband, and now given the distance, which is probably 15, 20-ish yards, the best tool at my disposal and the best thing I could try to do to stop that threat immediately was to try to shoot him with my firearm. I tried to take the best shooting platform I could. I tried to stop. I wasn't running. I could see that I had a clear background. I didn't see anybody on Santa Clara. I didn't see anybody on the sidewalk, which we were on the sidewalk on the eastern side of Santa Clara there. So I fired 3 rounds from my pistol in an attempt to try to stop him before he rounded the corner and potentially encountered, my partners with a gun out. After, firing those 3 rounds, in an attempt to try to stop him, so he wouldn't kill me or kill my partners, he rounded the corner and he went, east on Alabama Street. Again, slowed down as I rounded the corner. Again, I was worried. I didn't know if I hit him, and now I'm again worried, did he get this gun out? Because that would be my biggest concern, him getting this gun out. At some point, he's going to get it, clear that clothing, and get that gun out. And again, my thinking is, if this gun comes out, he's going to shoot at me. He's going to try to shoot me, or shoot at my partners. So I slowed down coming around that corner, and I lost sight of him. I don't know why in the moment, but I felt like he stayed on the south side of Alabama. I didn't see him cross over, and I kind of had a wider angle to see the north side of Alabama than I could see down the south side of Alabama. Again, I called out to dispatch that there were shots fired. I reiterated he had a gun. I was trying to convey on the radio traffic that he had a gun but was trying to get it out of his waistband, which is I think I said something like I don't know if I said he's pulling it out of his waistband or getting it out of his waistband. And I started trying to call a perimeter. Again, knowing that this guy was armed and knowing his history and that he has this gun, what I think is to try to shoot me, I didn't go through any yards after him. I didn't feel like that was a safe thing to do. A car drove by and pointed to a house. I want to say it was, and said he ran through there. I broadcast that, but I did not feel it was safe at that point to start going through yards by myself. I still had no other units with me. I didn't have any units with me during the time of the actual shooting. I was by myself. So I did not pursue him on foot any farther. I tried to call out a perimeter, and I could hear sirens getting close and was hoping maybe we could get a perimeter. A few seconds later, 2 females ran out of, I want to say, a couple houses down. The females ran up to me. They stated that a man ran into their backyard, into their shed, and they stated that he had a gun and that he threw it, and I don't remember their exact wording, but they indicated that he threw it down to the ground in their backyard. I started to, during this time I had my body camera on. I actually thought I activated it right at pretty much Sacramento and Packard Alley. I had it in the hard off, the switch off, so I had to switch it and try to turn it on as I was running. I thought I got it sooner than I did. So my camera was on during this whole time, and then started going back to the perimeter. Sergeant Postalaki arrived on, or actually let me back up. 2 Napa deputies showed up. pretty quickly. They showed up before any Vallejo units. So pretty 20 seconds after the women ran out, unmarked truck pulled up, and two Napa, I don't know if they were Napa SWAT or detectives wearing tack gear popped out, and I pointed to what house it was. I had them start taking containment. I pointed out the shed, and I started trying to broadcast what I could while they were working on containment. I then took up a containment position on the east side of that house with Sergeant Postalaki. We started to develop and talk about tactics or tactical plan, so I shut my body cam off so that it wouldn't capture conversation about a tactical plan. At some point, I yelled out to the females who were now across the street something about what color the gun was, trying to get some more details about the gun or where it was at. I think they said it was black, and I don't remember specifically what else I said right then. We went back to a perimeter position. I then, once we had enough units there working on the perimeter, realized I wanted to go back and talk to those females on body cam, because I, to be honest with you, completely forgot my body camera was on when I talked to them the first time. I knew I'd shut it off. I didn't remember what it had captured, and I wanted to get their statements about the gun on body camera. So I went over, asked them. I didn't even get to ask them about the gun. I think I said what happened or something, and they told me how he ran into their shed, and then one of the females again says he threw the gun, and then I think another female says something like, yeah, down by a compost pile or something like that. And then I got their names and information and captured that on my body camera. I then ended up taking a couple different perimeter positions along the route of the foot pursuit as new information came in on where the suspect may be, and that kind of changed. We kept getting different information. At some point I was relieved by Lieutenant Bartlett and told to go back to the command post. I started to walk down Alabama towards Marin Street, and I saw the carjacked vehicle, and no one was sitting with it, so I stayed there until Napa SO got there and was able to watch it, and then was given a ride back over to our command post.
Back. So when you were, go back to the beginning, when you were driving northbound Marin Street and you saw the car parked at the park, said you were going to continue driving north and get a spot to do surveillance?
Yeah, I didn't want to get up on the car. I didn't know if it was occupied, or I didn't really have all the details. Just that, the initially we didn't even know the car and the phone were together. I mean, we were getting a phone ping, and it was there to 7-meter accuracy. So when I saw the car from a distance, I had already passed Louisiana. I couldn't turn off, so I basically had to keep going or make a U-turn and be obvious. So I figured I'd just, it's a normal police route, go past it, come back around, set up, or whatever. But then I saw the patrol car, already basically parallel with the car on Alabama.
Okay, and where were the officers? Were the officers in the car when
Yeah, they were both sitting in their car, I believe. I don't remember who was driving, to be honest with you.
Okay. And you said Officer Carpenter directed your attention to somebody walking through the park?
Yeah, he started pointing to it was pretty much simultaneous with my attention being drawn to this Hispanic male. He first kind of started, did the turn around, he's facing me, turn around, and then he kind of started slow jogging, and then Carpenter's pointing, that guy, he just ran and he starts running, and so then I started driving around.
Okay, when you drove around the park, where were you when you saw? Did you pull up next to Carpenter's car?
I pulled up. I was facing west. They were facing east. I was basically parallel with the Camry, or
Okay.
with them, and so then I drove westbound Alabama, southbound Sacramento, eastbound Louisiana. Drove on the wrong side of the road and parked right up on the curb on City Park, just shy of, or maybe like 30 yards shy of Marin Street.
Okay. So you said you saw him hiding, crouched down inside the children's play structure?
Yeah, he wasn't fully crouched down. I mean, he wasn't standing at his full posture. I mean, it maybe bent over a little bit or something. I just remember seeing the white T-shirt against the backdrop of that fence, and then seeing his face and going, yeah, that's the same guy.
Okay.
And it was kind of, I couldn't find him at first when I first got there, and then, like I said, some moms were looking over there, and I kind of directed my attention to, like, oh, maybe he's hiding in the playground, because that's kind of the natural hiding spot in that park too.
Okay, so you got out and you sprinted at him?
I started sprinting right for the playground to try to get close. And also, there's a bunch of kids there. This is a guy that's, at that point, I think is at least potentially armed, given the information. There's kids, there's moms out. I wanted to get close to him in case he did run or try to do something. I was within an effective range. And then, for a second or two, he saw me.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna dive back. You keep talking about video, so right now you don't have video, but you had a portable camera or something on at the time.
Correct. I have my body camera on.
What about your car? Equipped with video also?
It is not.
Okay. When you run through the park and he comes out at the play structure, that's on Sacramento Street, right? If I'm
He
following
comes
you
he
right.
comes out on the Sacramento Street side, yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. And then let me just back up for just a sec, because you say originally you get the email from Sean Kinney about alert from Napa PD, Napa SO about the 215.
Correct.
Bunch of information contained in there. I'm assuming there's photos contained in there.
There's photos of both
the
suspects.
guys.
Correct.
Says that they're armed.
Correct.
Gives you license plate. Does it give you a picture of the victim vehicle, 215 vehicle?
It did not. No.
Okay. But gives you a license plate
And a color.
and registration information on the car?
Correct.
Okay. Including a license plate?
Correct. Which I had run earlier to confirm that it was still a carjacking vehicle.
Okay.
On my desk computer.
Okay. Does it give you a color of the car?
It did. The email said green.
Okay. And it gives you some criminal history of these guys that do the carjacking. Yeah.
Correct.
Based on what you read, there's some violence in their background, as well as not just this 215, but
correct.
And it also says, and I don't recall if you said it or not, something about the gang.
Yeah, I believe it said both subjects were known Sereno gang members.
Okay. And you had said we had received information about a ping. Who did you mean by we? How were you getting that information?
I received it from Detective Kenny initially.
You're talking about Sean Kenny?
Yes, who
Okay.
told me that, the person that sent the email, he sent me, I can't remember, I think it was an email or text that said the phone was pinging static, non-moving at Benicia and Columbus, but there was a high radius.
Okay. And so that's the first message you get. Does he send you another message?
No, so I knew Napa was working the case. I contacted one of the Napa PD street team people.
Okay.
Officer Keener, and asked him, if there was an update. And he said he gave the Marin and Alabama location.
Okay. Within 7 meters, I think is what you said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
From that
Accuracy.
location. Did you get any indication from them that Napa was doing anything with this other than pinging a phone?
I did not get that impression that they were actively working it, I didn't get an impression one way or the other to that. I got the impression that they were okay with our involvement. Due to the fact that we got the email to look for them, due to the fact that their detective is providing, locations. I've worked specifically with, and I've worked numerous of these ops on our crime reduction team. And, if you don't want other agencies involved, you make that very clear and you deal with it a different way. This was a clear operation where, if we found him, we weren't going to mess up their it was just to find this car. They had put out the DOJ stop on the car, which I had seen before.
Okay.
So
there
I
is
didn't
a
get
stop on the car.
Yeah, there was a DOJ stop.
And so in the email that you get is it clearly stated there's probable cause to arrest these guys?
Yes, they're listed as the suspects. Again, the DOJ stop, which is put on, if there's known suspects and it's a known felony crime.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to go back to the outside agency or us helping them, Detective Kinney sent out numerous emails to me about wanted people or to our agency, and if another agency doesn't want help, he'll put, hey, don't try to look for this car. Napa PD's working in a case or whatever, don't get involved. And there was no such instructions, which is pretty clear, law enforcement, that it's fair game for any agency or whatever.
Okay. So then I'm going to go back to when you guys come out on Sacramento Street, basically across the street from Packard Alley.
Correct.
You guys are on the east side of Sacramento, closest to City Park. You come out, I'm assuming you're chasing him. Are you guys running to get to that location?
So I lose sight of him for a few seconds as I'm running on the south side of the play structure.
Okay.
He initially started running west towards the Packard Alley area. Obviously the fastest route for me, I'm not going to run through the play structure. There's obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed he was going to keep his same trajectory, and so I decided to keep my same trajectory, not try to figure out where he was going, and he came out shortly before I got to that location.
Okay. So when he comes out of the park, how far ahead of you is he?
He was pretty close. I would say 10 yards.
10 yards?
Yeah.
Okay. Continues in a westbound direction?
He does.
Okay. Crossing Sacramento Street into the alley.
Yes.
Okay. And I just want to make sure I wrote it down right. So it sounded like when he starts hitting the alley after he crosses Sacramento Street is when you recognize the gun thing?
So right close to the entrance of Packard Alley, with the curb line on the west side of Sacramento.
Okay.
Right in that vicinity. I can't tell you this spot,
Okay.
but it was right in there. I remember pulling out my gun right at that location, and I remember transmitting shortly thereafter that there was a gun. It took me a second to, again, like I said, process it. I wanted to make sure. It's not common when I see it. If I'm going to say something on the radio, I wanted to be sure, like, hey, man, this is a gun. Okay. So I kind of did that double take, and in my mind, I was like, this guy he really has a gun. That's what I saw. Yeah, that's a gun. That's not good.
Okay.
That is a huge, huge threat.
When you start into the park, is your gun drawn?
No.
Okay. When he recognizes you, takes off running, you take off running while you're still in the park, gun drawn?
No.
Okay. When he hits Sacramento Street before crossing the street, gun drawn?
No.
Okay. When you guys start across Sacramento Street, when you exit the park, you're about 10 yards. As you're crossing the street, are you maintaining that distance? He leaving you a little bit?
No, I was definitely maintaining that distance.
Okay.
I actually felt like I could catch up to him if I really tried. And I was kind of closing that distance. I was way farther away from him at the initial part of that foot pursuit, and I was getting closer.
Okay.
And actually, in my mind, I was like, I could get closer. But then I saw that gun, and then I was like, I'm not getting any closer.
Okay.
And in fact, I let him gain distance throughout the course of that foot pursuit because he had that gun. Okay. I wanted to maintain that distance.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, the first time your gun comes out is when you recognize there's a gun, and I think you said his right hand. Is that right? I don't know if you did or not.
I think I did. Yeah, it was in his right hand, and it was down just offset to the right side of his body.
Okay.
Where I could see it, and he was kind of keeping his arm down here. It wasn't really swinging.
Okay.
It was kind of just out here. I mean, he was moving because he's running, but not. He's keeping it close to his body.
Okay. And that's the first when it finally dawns on you that that's a gun. Then your gun comes out.
Yes.
And then, because of seeing the gun in his hand in the alley, you start letting him get a little bit of distance on you.
Yeah. And the more radio traffic too I put out, I probably slowed down a little bit. I wanted to get out that he had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't think I've ever said that in a foot pursuit. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. And I've chased a lot of armed people and people that have tossed it before I've had a chance to say anything, and I don't put that out. And so I was letting him get some distance.
So as you're going through the alley, you said there's a point as he's approaching Santa Clara Street, which is the next street west of Sacramento Street. Mm-hmm. There's a point in the alley that you say he, for lack of a better term, reholsters the weapon.
So he reholstered, I would say, closer to the Sacramento side.
Okay.
So I can't say that I don't remember him actually drawing the gun out. I remember seeing it in his hand.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing it come out as I did. I saw it out.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I start yelling as we cross into Packard Alley or get into the alley. I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna shoot. Several seconds. I'm doing my best to give you time. Mm-hmm. After that, he starts jamming it back in to reholster, and it was kind of a process. It wasn't just a quick. It was like putting it back in. I don't know, deep or all the way in his under. I don't know. Reholstering it back in his waistband area, and I would say that maybe that was a third of the way west through Packard Alley from Sacramento, if that makes sense.
Yep. So within the first third of the alley.
Within the first of the alley.
It goes back in.
And then to the question of pulling it out, I would say maybe the last, I'm guessing quarter, I'm estimating here. Quarter, right towards the end, he starts trying to pull it out. And, pretty aggressively yanking it. You can see his elbow moving in an upward motion. Again, not consistent with holding your pants or anything else like that. And then that's when he first started trying to pull it back out again.
Okay. And I'm going to backtrack just a little bit more. After he crosses Sacramento Street, that's the first time that you see the gun in his hand. You don't see it when he's in the park. You don't see him when he's walking through the park.
No.
Do you see anything with his movement? I know you lost sight of him a couple times. Do you see anything consistent with him possibly having a weapon at that time?
So before I recognize the gun as we're running, right as we pass the play structure and he approaches the eastern curb line of Sacramento, mm-hmm. I see his hands in that area. And you
say that area?
I'm sorry, in his waistband area. And I specifically his right hand, and not really moving too much, not in a runner's motion. I keyed in on that area right there. I didn't see the gun there until we got closer, but it made me start watching that even more. Again, I never saw him come out.
Okay.
And I didn't notice the gun until, like I said before.
Okay. And so, in the last quarter of the alley approaching Santa Clara Street, you see him actively, in your mind, attempting to remove the gun again, take it out of his waistband, yes. I'm assuming. Because you were doing this, and then your hands in the front of his pants where you saw him...
Yeah, same area where I saw him put it back in.
Okay. You start doing this, you're putting stuff out on the radio, you're yelling. What kind of distance you got between you and him then?
So as he made that corner again, he's actively trying to corner being the corner to go north from Packard Alley and onto Santa Clara. I give him distance because I'm worried that he's going to stop, duck into a yard, or try to maybe even just turn and engage me from the corner as I come around. It's just a common bad guy tactic. I've seen it in training videos, so I'm worried about that. So I go wide out in Packard Alley, wide to the south, to try to get the best visual angle. And I slow it down as I make that northbound turn. I can see him across one of the yards. I can see that he continues to run northbound there. So I come out into the alley, and he's still trying to get the gun out. And now he's probably 15, 20 yards away, and straight ahead of me. He's still on the sidewalk, and I'm on the sidewalk.
Okay. And you guys are on the east sidewalk of Santa Clara.
That's correct.
Okay. So when you come out, you see him actively still trying to get that gun out of his waistband. The stuff that you were processing in your mind, I'm worried about him spinning on me with a gun and taking a shot at me. You're thinking of the two officers that were sitting right next to a 215 vehicle.
Yeah, I really thought that they were coming up Alabama.
Right. And them guys, you didn't even know if they knew that they were sitting next to a armed carjacking vehicle with bad guys in it.
I knew they knew about the car, so I
Okay.
knew they knew. I communicated with them. I knew they knew about the car,
Okay.
and that they were aware that it could be over there or the phone could be over there.
Okay.
I didn't know if they had seen the car once they were there or if they made the connection. It just the best way I can describe it is the way their car was positioned. It wasn't in a felony stop. It wasn't. It was like in this no man's land. Like either do a felony stop or drive past it, but you're just kind of sitting next to it. And my thought was, did they not recognize that that's the car? Did they not see the plate, or did they just? There's a motorhome there too, so did they miss it or see it, or I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't know that they had made the connection.
Gotcha.
Right then when I pulled up, and then they started pointing, and then I realized that okay, now they made the connection.
Okay. So, running, pulling the gun, like you said, logically, the point for them to head off this foot pursuit if they were going to assist you in it was to turn around and come westbound up Alabama Street.
Yeah, even regardless of what route I took, that would have been the best way to get there.
Okay. And so you had mentioned, and now you're worried for them of being ambushed coming around the corner because they're not seeing what you're seeing.
And I was afraid too he was going to get the gun out at any moment. If I would have waited longer, I felt like every second I waited to not stop it, and in this case stop it by shooting at him or shooting him, was another second that he had to get that gun out. It was getting caught up for whatever reason. He hadn't got it out, but he's going to get it out.
Right.
And he's going to try to shoot one of us, kill one of us.
Okay. I know you're kind of focused, but you said you had a clear background northbound on that side of the street on Santa Clara there. Do you recall anybody out and about on the opposite side of the street? You hear anybody?
I don't recall seeing... I didn't notice anybody, is the best way. I didn't notice anybody on the other side of the street. I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on him.
Gotcha.
When I was about to shoot, I just remember thinking, this is a perfect time to take a shot if you're going to do it before he rounds that corner. And then you have this clear... There's nobody, no cars. I didn't see anybody.
Okay. He disappears around the corner. Do you have any indication when you fire your rounds, is there any indication that he's struck?
I didn't see any movement. My initial thought was, and I think I even told the sergeant right after, I didn't think I hit him.
Okay.
I didn't see him go down. I didn't see any blood. I didn't see him fall, which I would think if you're running, you hit with the 45, you're going to fall.
Okay. When you take your shots, does he continue making the same gestures as before he does before you take the shots? Or do you even pay attention because now you're focused on front sight?
So I tried to take the best. I tried to pick up my sights, actually like kind of not full sights, but probably front sights and best I could. I would say very shortly after my last round, he's around in that corner. So I can't really say after as around that corner if he's still doing it up until I pulled the trigger. And then I'm focused on doing that once I've committed. So I can't say what he was doing as he rounded that corner, but
Okay. But
up into that, yeah.
Up into that.
And then I have my
this.
gun up at face level and
Right.
obviously kind of focused on
Okay.
that.
So you he disappears out of your sight. Now eastbound on Alabama Street. You run to the corner and kind of go wide at that corner again, thinking because he rounds the corner and then what are you thinking?
Well, I didn't have any indication. He didn't go down, and there's no gun dropped. I'm not going to assume that anything other than he still has his gun, and then he's still trying to get out, or maybe now that he has it out. And again, then going to try to either ambush me or shoot at somebody else, another officer, if they engage him or see him. So I do go wide. I go out a little bit slower. I go wide past the curb. I think I even go to the opposite side of the curb. I go to the north side of Alabama. I wanted to get the best angle down so I could see as much of each yard and not be right up on the fence line on the southern side. I looked at the street sign, make sure I know where I'm at, broadcast that, and then I kind of maintained visual down in the east direction. And then, like I said, that car pulled up right away. I think a female said he ran into I think it was 309.
Okay. Just look through my notes real quick. I thought I did everything. Do you recall yelling anything at him before you throw any shots?
I did. I said, drop it. It was just what came to mind that would get my point across and not have a gun. I think I said it 2 or 3 times maybe.
Okay. I think that's all I had in my notes, bro. Got anything else? Do you have anything?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Let Rob and I talk real quick. Make sure we look at each other's notes. Make sure we got no more questions. Take a break for just a minute. It's hotter than Hades in here.
Yeah, it's like a heater.
Exactly. So let's step out and get cool air and
Your phone, do you need it?
My lesson.
actually, walking in, I did think of a few things. I left it laying right here on the ground. I just got some quick Google Earth images of the general areas that we talked about real quick. I'm going to slide these things over so we can all see here real quick. All right. So this is a image of, this is Marin Street, this is Sacramento Street, this is Alabama Street, and this is Louisiana Street.
Do you mind if I turned it?
No, go ahead.
Screw it.
That's okay. So Sacramento, Marin, Louisiana, Alabama. City Park.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So whereabouts is the 215 vehicle parked when you get into the area?
And just confirm. Marin, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. You want me to draw it or?
Sure.
Or
Whatever.
I'll just put it S. It's like right.
Okay.
Small. It's
Cool.
somewhere right in there.
Okay.
Facing
Facing that direction. When you came, you said northbound on Marin, right?
correct.
And so you're coming down this way. You recognize, you see it there.
I see it from about here.
Oh, okay.
I was like just gonna trickle
Keep-
on by.
yeah, keep going
Or
northbound.
turn right at him. But then when I got right about here, I saw the patrol unit.
And where's the patrol unit?
They're somewhere. Like. They're a little bit more to the right. I'm
Okay.
taking up more of the road, but somewhere right in there.
And they're faced eastbound also?
correct.
Okay. So they're literally parallel on the street. This is a single lane. And there's no division here. It's
correct.
single
2
lane
lane.
each direction.
There is extra,
kinda.
I think, parking room on there for
Okay.
the park, but that's
All
about
right.
it. It's a little wide.
So basically they're parallel to the suspect
Yeah.
vehicle.
fairly.
And I don't know if anybody said it. I think it came up a little bit later. Can you tell if the vehicle's occupied or not?
I cannot.
And suspect in the that you chased through the park, whereabouts in the park do you initially see him?
I saw him. There's like a row of trees here. It's pretty much close to being under one of these trees.
Okay.
Fairly close.
Okay. And then as he moves through the park, you were talking about a play structure. Where is that
So
in the
play
park?
structures. I'll put up play.
Okay. Okay. Good. And then as you come out onto, this is Sacramento Street. I know it's difficult to see, but
Yeah.
can you see the entrance to the alley
Yeah,
that you
I
were
think that's it
referring
right-
to?
right
Yeah,
there,
that's an alleyway. So you're talking about kind of like, and I don't want to write on here, but
Yeah, that's fine.
somewhere near that alley is where you initially see the gun, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, if it wasn't the entrance, it was the sidewalk area. I mean, right in this right general area.
Okay. This is another view of the same alley, but on the Santa Clara end of it. And from what you can see in the picture, is it before what we can see that he starts trying to pull the gun out again after he's reholstered, or is it?
I would say somewhere close to here, maybe
Okay.
slightly before in this area, but he's more in the center.
Okay.
But with this line right here.
Okay, good enough. And so as he exits, he heads, what you recognize is this northbound, this direction?
Correct. He's
Okay.
running. We're both running this way.
Okay, good enough. And then as you near under the tree, there is kind of the corner of Alabama Street. You're around Alabama Street, and a car pulls up and focuses your attention. Let me go to kind of an overhead view of Santa Clara, Alabama Street. In your body video, I see you kind of wind up over here on this curb.
Correct.
And then a car comes down. A lady tells you that, hey, he ran into a house over here. And she's pointing towards which houses or...
I want to say, she said this house. I believe it's this white one. She's pointing to one of these two. I think this one.
Okay.
General area, one of these two.
Okay. And eventually, by looking at your body video, you kind of land in front of a couple houses that look about right where you land.
Correct.
Okay.
Now I want to say this is 319. I think.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. And this is kind of a did you ever the ladies that came out of here tell you he's in a shed in the back? He's in a shed in the back.
They did. I clarified, and they pointed to it that I could see it from this. We'll call that, that's the western side of the house.
Okay.
But then they also clarified that the way to get to it is you have to go on the eastern side of the house.
Gotcha.
So you gotta get through the back.
Gotcha. And the house that they're talking about, it's a multi-story house.
Yeah, it's a 2 or 3.
Okay. And so this is kind of an overhead view looking from the south-north. So, if you will, this is Santa Clara Street here. This is Alabama Street here. Okay. The multi-story is, I'm assuming, this big one. It may be a different color nowadays. That's my assumption. Looking from the top, I don't know if this is the shed roof that they're talking about. Is it?
Yeah,
is it a sizable shed?
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean,
and it's like a permanent structure.
Yeah,
one,
it's
right?
like, I mean, I don't even know. It's like an outbuilding.
Okay. So it's
not
a
like an
building.
aluminum shed.
Yeah,
it's like wood and part of.
Gotcha.
And then I remember seeing this gate, and that's the one that they were pointing to.
Okay.
And I could see it here from the street, from this, western side of.
Okay.
I think that's 319.
Okay.
I don't know if this is.
All right.
This house.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And the shed was in the backyard of that one that
Correct.
they're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of a view of the alleyway on the backside of Alabama Street. So that's Packard Alley there that
Correct.
we're looking at. Okay. All right. Good enough. Just want to make sure we were all in the same places and saw the same things. And okay. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't have anything.
Rob, you got anything else you want to add? No? Okay. All right. Thank you both for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
All right.
All right. Can you scoot out of there?
Yep.